Thank you so very much. Let me tell you that I still remember vividly my meeting with some of JNF people in New York. Was it six weeks ago? The morning, when I explained to everyone in the room how it will be impossible to surprise Israel. I'm so ashamed of what I told them. I was so clear by explaining to everyone that Israel has made everything necessary that what happened almost 50 years ago will never happen again. It did, 12 hours later. So I was not the one to be the last to be the only one to be surprised that day, but in generally we'll have to look at that after the war itself, and for a long time, in order to figure out what went wrong. And that's going to be a long investigation, not a simple one. But at this stage, I'd like to focus, as there was requested, on the situation on the field right now, for over 40 days after the war broke out. In general, it deteriorates from one day to another. And mainly now in the north with Hezbollah. One thing hasn't happened yet. Israel hasn't crossed into Lebanon. We know very well from at least two past wars, in 1982 and in 2006, how difficult it is to fight within Lebanon on the ground, but it may come. The Hezbollah doesn't stop for a minute, day and night, to attack Israel. Again, it's very similar to the situation in the south. It's not that Israel was looking for a war. This is a war and totally and fully initiated by Hezbollah, from our perspective for no reason. But this is part of the war imposed upon us by Iran through their proxies all over the Middle East. Hezbollah has successfully sent a few drones into our territory. This is the new weapon that we see here widely used in this war, south and north. By the way, Hezbollah is much better equipped with all kinds of weapons than Hamas. Drones is only one of them. Long-range missiles, much more accurate, and so on. They hit one of our division headquarters in the north today, causing a lot of damage, and some of the settlements along the border. They continue to fire rockets into Israel and anti-tank missiles wherever they can. No civilians along the border. All of them were evacuated, but the tension is high. And as I said before, the last word hasn't been said already, just the opposite. It seems like it will go worse and worse. And I guess that sooner or later you see the Air Force, which is now leading the Israeli operations in Lebanon, striking deep Lebanon, not only in the border areas. That will come because it's unacceptable for a sovereign state to let any enemy to freely attack our territory without a proper response. They lost over 100 of their people so far. That's a lot, but not enough. And they will have to pay heavily to what they have done or they have been doing time and again, day and night, no stop. Back to the south. In the south, you know, there are 3 armored divisions within Gaza. Major military machine. which is now operating mainly in the northern part of Gaza and some in the center as well. We are not getting yet to the southern part. One of the reasons is that around 2 million Gazans are now concentrated in the south. We actually ordered them to go south, and that's where they are now. So it's not really so simple. But once we know where the leaders of the Hamas are, and if they are hiding in the south or in the center, we'll reach them where they are. There's no doubt about that, especially the two most important ones, Muhammad Def and Ahmad Sanwar. These are the leaders, the military and the political ones, and they are the major targets of our forces. We continue to look for the underground facilities of the Hamas. After Shifa Hospital, we moved to the Indonesian hospital. As you know, from the beginning, hospitals were on one of the major targets of the operation, because we knew that under those hospitals or in their vicinity, there are quite a number of hidden headquarters and depots of weapons and so on, all of them underground, nothing on the ground. We found some of that around Shifa. We haven't found what we were looking for, the major headquarters of Hamas. It may be there, but it will take time, and it's not a simple matter to freely activate, to run into within the hospital. Most of the hospital, by the way, is now empty. Today, we let 30 babies, premature babies, to be evacuated to Egypt. And we are searching everywhere we can, interrogating the staff and looking for the key. We know for sure now that they've been using Shifa. We have provided with some evidence yesterday of bringing two of the hostages into the hospital, going through the hospital, but we still have to come up with much more information about what was going in Shifa and in other hospitals. It's not a simple operation. I'd like you to know that. It's not a quick one. We are very careful. The number of our fallen soldiers is growing every day. There's no average. I wouldn't tell you average. It's not the stock market. It's human life. But we are also having casualties. Urban warfare is one of the most complicated ones. You cannot move freely in urban areas, and you know that in any given moment there can be a hand grenade being thrown on you, or sniper, or all kinds of activities by the enemy, which is waiting on the other side. But we are doing well in terms of taking more and more territories and cleaning the area and making sure that everything which belongs to the Hamas, everything, including, by the way, government buildings and so on, all of them will be exploded, destroyed, and removed, everything. This is part of the main goal, which is to make sure that Hamas will not be able to come back. There will be no infrastructure for any future operation. And that's why it takes a long time. It's not a matter of a day or a week. It will continue, and it will take weeks and even months to complete the operation, even months. Of course, the issue of the hostages is very high on our priority. As an observer, in a way, most of the time I give my commentary on television and so on. I'm not really involved in the government activities now. I would say that there was a switch of the operation goal, and now the return of the hostages is number one. So we can just imagine, it's like whatever, 240, a little bit less people, 236 people are running around by the Hamas. They are not together, probably. They were divided into small groups, somewhere, not in one location, in many locations, and 3 armored divisions, which comes up to around 100 1,000 tanks and armored vehicles are searching for them with between 40 to 50,000 troops. Well, this is something. I haven't seen that in my life. And we have no clue where they are. I guess, or as much as we know, within a day, there'll be the beginning of an exchange of prisoners for hostages and ceasefire or pause in the fighting for a few days. At the beginning, it will include 50 of them. And then, again, I don't have the exact information. It's coming out in pieces from here and there. But it says that every additional day, another 10 of them will be released. Let's see if it works. We, on our side, will have to release women, Palestinian women from prison, terrorists, and young terrorists under 18. We have quite a number of them too. That will be released in return to the first 50. And then we see if it works for additional days and how many of the rest of the hostages will be released in this first kind of ceasefire. We don't call it ceasefire, but practically that's what it is, because the fire will be seized by us, by them. Of course, they will take advantage. They should have no doubt to reorganize themselves, to plan for the next stages, something that they were not able to do under the military pressure of our forces. But we take this risk. We would like very much to see the hostages back. We would like to bring them back. It's an emotional experience that we are all going through. All the Israelis, I would say, demonstrations, marches, rallies all over the country, day and night, in the Knesset, out of the Knesset, in Tel Aviv, on the highway between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Every day they are coming, and not only in Israel, but all around the globe. But by the way, today is the International Day of Children, okay? The International Day of Children, but none of the famous children organizations, the international ones, has anything to say about the very fact that the 40 Israeli kids from 3 years old, well, there's 9 months old, up to 18, are held hostages by the Hamas somewhere. It seems like a top secret. They're not supposed to say a word about that. That's also show a little bit about the hypocrisy of the world, as well as the denial that Israeli women were raped by the terrorists as well. There are quite a number of evidence, but international organizations prefer to say we haven't heard anything, we haven't seen anything. We are just doing our job wherever it is. As I said before, it's not only the north and the south; it's also east. Since the first day, Israeli forces are uprooting Hamas terror cells on the West Bank, in Gaza, in Judea and Samaria. It's not a minor operation any longer. Under the big shadow of Gaza, not much attention was given, but day and night, there are raids into Jenin and Nablus and other refugee camps, or actually anywhere on the West Bank, wherever Hamas has built its power. We know it's very powerful on the West Bank. It's not just a myth. They were preparing for themselves for taking over the Palestinian Authority. And now over 1,000 of them were already arrested. Many of them were killed during those operations. And I hope it will bear fruits that in the future, Hamas will have difficulties to renew its activities on the West Bank. That is something that you have to be aware of. The next front is between us and the Houthis in Yemen. Most of the Israelis, and I don't know about you, have never heard about the Houthis. Yemen is so far from our borders and from our territory, but they are active. They send drones into Israel. They fired long-range ballistic missiles into Israel. Long run, it's almost 2,000 kilometers. It's really far away. And last but not least, they hijacked a vessel called the Galaxy Leader. They took over the Galaxy Leader, which is a cargo ship, yesterday morning. They just released a video showing how they landed on the ship from helicopter and took it over, and it should be somewhere in Yemen. I don't know where exactly. This is probably a violation of international law. There's no doubt about that. Again, it was done by Iran. There's no doubt whatsoever that all the proxies of Iran in the Middle East were given a certain permit or order to go forward. So it's Hamas, it's Hezbollah, Hamas on the West Bank, and now the Houthis from Yemen. This is a kind of an all-out war with Iran, but Iran itself keeping itself out of the picture. It's not directly, it's not involved, but practically the proxies they've been building carefully, but quite widely in the region are now all directing their operations towards Israel. This is something that we haven't expected, I would say, but that's the way. This is the reality. I would like to stop here because I tried shortly, really in short, to cover all the fronts. You can see there's no shortage of them. I didn't mention anything about the home front. I didn't say anything about the economy. I didn't say anything about over 200,000 Israelis, evacuees that were forced to leave their homes to temporarily houses or hotels or anywhere, running away from. There's not much safe places in Israel at this stage because the rockets from Lebanon can reach any target in Israel anyhow, but they are not on the border lines, and that makes their life a little bit safer. But of course, it's really not a simple matter for people to stay in hotels or in temporary housing for such a long time. But that's part of it. And of course, the economic burden, which we haven't had even a general idea how to deal with when it's over. So before I turn to questions, would like to thank you very much to JNF. I know how hard you, those who are in this call or those who are not in this call, are working very hard day and night to help Israel. And I know JNF very well, and I would like to thank you very much on behalf of myself, of course, of many Israelis that know of you and appreciate very much what you're doing for Israel. So thank you very much.
So thank you,
and
Dr.
now
yes.
we
have time for one question. There's a lot that many questions came in, but I'm going to just read one. Are you hearing anything you can share about a coalition of Arab countries governing Gaza after the war concludes?
It's too early. I don't think that anyone is. First of all, no one is really volunteer. No one would like to volunteer to take over Gaza. This is the most miserable piece on earth that I know of. Over 2 million people without water, without air, without anything. This is the most miserable people and that you can imagine. That's why I would hope very much that Israel has no plans to stay in Gaza longer than few months, because we are not able to take upon ourselves to run the life of over 2 million people. We don't have the financial resources, and I'm telling you, it will be even worse than Lebanon at the time. And we were stuck in Lebanon between 1982 to 2000. And finally, we managed to withdraw from Lebanon. I really don't expect Israel to stay too long in Gaza. Who will take over? So the Americans, President Biden would like to see the Palestinian Authority getting into Gaza into kind of renew their government there. Not simple, not simple. We are not very excited about the Palestinian Authority, but I hope very much that the Israeli government will not open a new front with the American administration. There is a limit to how many wars we can run at the same time. We will not be able to be here today without the American support in all levels, in all areas. But so we have to listen very, very carefully to what the Americans are telling us, that these are real friends now, especially President Biden and others in the US administration. I guess the Americans would like to organize a certain coalition of other Arab states, starting Saudi Arabia and others, Egypt, of course, Jordan, that will form a certain international force that will help the Palestinian Authority. But we are not there yet. We are not there yet. No one is really ready for, first of all, to end the war. We are not ready to end the war. I have no doubt about it. We haven't reached the goals of the war. And unless those goals are being reached or achieved, we are not going to stop. That should be clear to everyone. And from that on, we'll see what will be the next stage. But currently, we are just focusing on the war, on destroying the Hamas facilities and infrastructure, and getting to the leaders that should be killed. There's no other alternative. They all should be killed, as it happened to bin Laden, as it happened to Saddam Hussein, as it happened to other terror leaders in the world history. There's only one place that they should go from where they are, which is right away to heaven. And that's it. And we'll meet them there in the future. But for the time being, Hamas will not be destroyed unless its leadership, the military, the political one, will be eliminated. That should be clear.
Well, thank you.
Anything else? I'm available. If not, I know you have a lot on your plate today.